The year was 2000. The world stood on the precipice of a new millennium, buzzing with a unique blend of digital optimism and Y2K anxiety. In this era, before social media dominated our lives, culture was consumed in a very physical way. And at the heart of popular culture was the music industry, a kingdom built on shimmering silver discs. The compact disc wasn't just a format, it was a tangible piece of art. People flocked to record stores, spending hours flipping through racks, admiring album covers, and unfolding liner notes to connect with their favorite artists. For nearly 2 decades, the CD was king, and its reign felt absolute. This physical dominance translated into unprecedented financial success. Global music revenues peaked at over $28 billion. The money didn't just flow, it gushed, creating a sense of invincibility within the industry's hallowed halls. At the apex of this empire sat the major record labels: Universal, Sony, and Warner. These titans of industry were the ultimate gatekeepers, their corporate thrones seemingly built from the countless plastic jewel cases that filled shelves worldwide. They controlled everything, from discovering new talent to deciding who became a global superstar. Their A&R departments and radio pluggers dictated what you heard on the radio, what you saw on MTV, and ultimately what you bought. And they set the price. A single album, often containing only 1 or 2 hit songs, could cost nearly $20. For consumers, the value proposition was beginning to fray. But the labels, comfortable in their dominance, failed to see the storm gathering on the digital horizon. It was a disruption fueled by a new technology and a generation of listeners who had grown up with the internet. That storm had a name: Napster. Launched by a teenage college dropout, its premise was deceptively simple: a peer-to-peer network to share music files for free. Suddenly, the world's entire catalog of music, every hit, every deep cut, every rarity, was available with just a click. An entire generation logged on. To the industry, it was mass piracy. But to millions of users, it wasn't theft, it was liberation. It was a library of infinite possibilities, a way to discover music beyond the narrow confines of mainstream radio. The labels responded with the only tool they knew: litigation. They sued Napster into oblivion. In a move that alienated their base, they even began suing their own customers, teenagers, college students, and parents, for thousands of dollars per song. But you can't sue a behavior. The battle was won, but the war was just beginning. By shutting down Napster, they had merely scattered the seeds. Cut one head off the Hydra and a dozen more, Kazaa, LimeWire, Morpheus, grew in its place. The concept of free, on-demand music was out of the bottle, and it would never go back in. While the music industry was busy suing its own customers and fumbling with clunky, restrictive digital stores, a different kind of solution was brewing. Far from the boardrooms of LA and New York, in Stockholm, a young tech entrepreneur named Daniel Ek watched the chaos unfold. He saw an industry at war with the future, failing to grasp a fundamental truth about the digital age. Ek wasn't a music executive. He was a coder, a child of the internet. A self-made millionaire by 23, he understood its architecture and its culture from the inside out. He knew the pirates because he had been one. He recognized that for millions of people, piracy wasn't born from a desire to steal, but from a desire for a better service. The illegal services offered something the legal market couldn't: a vast, comprehensive library of music available instantly for free. The user experience was frictionless. It wasn't just about the price, it was the sheer magic of having the entire history of recorded music at your fingertips. This was the benchmark. Ek's radical idea was to stop fighting the pirates and instead outcompete them. He envisioned a service that could offer the same instant, unlimited experience, but do it legally. It had to be faster, more reliable, and more elegant than piracy itself. It had to be so good, people would choose it and eventually even pay for it. In 2006, Eck partnered with Martin Lorentzen, the co-founder of the company he'd just sold. With Lorentzen's funding and Eck's technical vision, they began to build it. They named it Spotify, a portmanteau of spot and identify. After 2 years of intense development and painstaking, near-impossible negotiations with skeptical record labels, Spotify launched in Scandinavia in October 2008. It was a technical masterpiece. The core innovation was its speed. Using a clever combination of peer-to-peer technology and cached files, it eliminated buffering. You'd click a song, and it played. Instantly. There was no lag, no waiting. It felt as if the music was already stored on your own device. This instant gratification was wrapped in a legal, two-tiered package. A free version, supported by ads, gave users access to the entire library. A premium, ad-free subscription offered higher quality and offline access. The free tier was the Trojan horse, converting pirates into legal listeners by the thousands. It was the ultimate try before you buy. Scandinavia fell in love overnight. The Swedish Solution had arrived, and it was about to change everything. Daniel Ek had built a revolutionary piece of technology, a seamless, legal alternative to the chaos of digital piracy. But the most elegant code in the world is silent without a song to play. To go global, he needed the music, and that music was locked away in the vaults of a handful of all-powerful gatekeepers, the major record labels. Tech wasn't enough. He needed their blessing. These labels were still nursing deep wounds from the digital wars of the early 2000s. Burned by Napster, they saw tech as the enemy. The word free was synonymous with theft, and they feared losing control of their valuable catalogs all over again. To them, another tech startup promising to put their music online sounded less like an opportunity and more like a Trojan horse. What followed were years of brutal, relentless negotiations. Ek and his team flew from London to New York to Los Angeles, pitching Spotify not as a threat, but as the only viable alternative to piracy. Their argument was simple. You can either get something from streaming or nothing from illegal downloads. It was a battle to convince an old guard that the future wasn't a choice, it was an inevitability. But persuasion wasn't enough. The labels demanded a guarantee, a way to win even if streaming royalties were slow to grow. The sweetener was a masterstroke: equity. Spotify offered the major labels, Universal, Sony, Warner, and Merlin, a significant ownership stake in the company, reportedly around 20% combined. This move fundamentally realigned incentives. The labels weren't just licensors anymore, they were partners. The exact terms were shrouded in secrecy, hidden behind ironclad non-disclosure agreements. It was a deal made in the shadows, a pragmatic compromise to save the business and unlock the global music catalog. As Spotify's valuation soared into the tens of billions, the label's equity became a financial windfall, dwarfing the initial royalty payments. They stood to gain far more from Spotify's success as a tech company than as a simple music platform. But there was a critical omission in this new partnership. When artists discovered the scale of these equity deals, they learned that the windfalls weren't being shared with them. Their contracts entitled them to a share of royalties, but said nothing about a share of a label's profit from selling stock in a streaming service. A two-tiered system emerged. The labels, now major shareholders, won big on Wall Street. The artists, the very creators of the content fueling the platform's growth, were left with fractions of a penny per stream. Criticism erupted from across the industry, igniting a debate that rages to this day. But the handshakes were done. The foundational deals were signed. Spotify had its catalog, and the path to global dominance was clear. The rules of the music industry had been rewritten, not in a parliament or a courtroom, but through private compromise in a corporate boardroom. The kingdom was unlocked, but the price would be paid by its creators. With majors on board, Spotify expanded relentlessly, Europe, then the US in 2011. Pent-up demand turned into cultural dominance. But with tens of millions of tracks, discovery was the problem. Every click, skip, playlist, share, billions of signals painting taste. Algorithms learned your preferences and who you resembled. Discover Weekly felt like a gift from a friend. Placement became the new radio, millions of streams overnight. Spotify became the most powerful tastemaker in music. Then came podcasts, acquisitions and exclusives to own all audio. Differentiate from rivals, build a moat, expand the empire. The playlist throne was secured by data. As Spotify grew, so did a question. What is a song worth? Songwriters called the system opaque. Laws built before the internet. Lawsuits piled up. Claims of unpaid licenses in the hundreds of millions and more. High-profile protests stung. The debate over payouts intensified. Hundreds of thousands of streams. Minimum wage pay. Superstars thrived. The musical middle class struggled. Spotify argued it revived revenue. Over $40 billion paid to rights holders. It said the issue was how labels and publishers divide the money, saving music from piracy, but creating an economy of fractions of a cent. From day one, the strategy was singular: growth. Years without steady profits, funded by venture capital and the public markets. Scale begets scale. A self-reinforcing loop competitors couldn't match. Free lost money, but converted millions into paying subscribers. Exclusive audio wasn't about now, it was about moats for later. Today, it leads the world in streaming, by a wide margin. But thin margins persist, bound to rights holders by design. A vast kingdom, an uncomfortable throne. Dominance, yes, but never without risk. New threats emerge. The most disruptive, artificial intelligence. AI can now compose in any style, complete with vocals and instrumentation. Platforms grapple with fake artists and royalty gaming tracks. Backlash grows. Many say the streaming economy is unsustainable. A handful of megastars and labels capture most rewards. New models, like user-centric payouts, gain momentum. Regulators eye fairness and market power. Spotify fights giants who can subsidize music as a loss leader. Algorithms risk homogenizing taste, closing doors on the experimental. Is the playlist king a curator or a dictator of taste? Immense influence now guides what we hear, raising alarms for artists, regulators, and listeners alike. Spotify's story is a tale of disruption, ambition, and compromise. Eck found a path through the rubble, building better than piracy. He didn't break laws like Napster. He rewrote the economics around them. It revived an industry and created a new crisis of value. For listeners, a celestial jukebox of choice and discovery. For labels, a powerful engine. For many artists, digital feudalism. Listening became data, and data, influence. The platform that gave us everything now suggests what comes next. As algorithms and AI define our future, one question remains. In an age of infinite access, who truly holds the power? The creator, the platform, or the code?